All is planned for you. Today, we're talking about this topic. Since we believe in things we can't see, it should be interesting. Hi everyone, it's Cleofe from the Cleofe podcast. We started this channel a year ago, and your support encourages my team and me to work hard every day. Our goal is to share Allah's message around the world. If you want to help us, please click the join button. Also, remember to like and subscribe, as many of you listen but don't subscribe. Now, I'll hand the microphone over to Jack and Wilson.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're cracking open a really fascinating stack of sources. They all deal with, the absolute nature of uncertainty, that cosmic surprise party that life is constantly throwing at us. We're going to analyze the boundaries of what we can know, and I think crucially, how faith helps you navigate it all.
It's a huge topic. We're really diving deep into this concept known as al-ghaib, the unseen. And it's a kind of theological boundary that's fundamental to understanding everything in our sources.
Okay.
The one single thread that runs through it all is this premise: Allah will surprise you. It means accepting that your greatest blessings and, well, sometimes your sharpest trials, they're going to blindside you.
Coming from directions you never even thought to check.
Exactly.
And to really anchor this, we have to start with a story of just radical, involuntary transformation. I want you to imagine walking into your home after nearly 3 decades, and you're confronted by your own son who thinks you're a hostile intruder. Okay, let's unpack this. It's a really powerful historical narrative about a man named Farrukh.
He was a free slave of Umar ibn al-Khattab and a formidable commander. And this account it's just remarkable because it sets up this stark contrast between an investment in this world versus, say, an investment in the spiritual realm.
Right.
Farrukh was known for his extreme dedication. He was always striving in the path of Allah. Our sources really emphasize he had basically no attachment to the dunya, to this world's fleeting goods.
So before he sets off on this major military expedition, he leads his wife, Sua, who's pregnant. He wants to secure her future.
Right, but he doesn't just leave her a small safety net. Not at all.
No.
He leaves her 30,000 dinars, and for you listening, you have to understand the weight of that number. This was not pocket change.
Not even close.
This was enough wealth to support a large family comfortably for a whole generation. It was a serious long-term financial guarantee. And he tells her, invest this, spend it wisely on yourself and the child, and then he's gone.
He fully expects to be back in a few years,
Of
right?
course. But he's gone for 27 years.
27 years. I mean, the sheer psychological weight of that gap is just so hard to process. Sua is, for all intents and purposes, a ghost widow.
She's raising a child who only knows his father as a kind of a distant concept. And she's managing this massive inheritance all on her own.
The sources really highlight that crushing uncertainty she must have felt.
Yo, absolutely. Every returning expedition, it brought this new hope and then this new disappointment. People would debate. Was he captured? Was he a prisoner?
Or did he die a martyr, which was probably the most noble theory.
The most likely, yes. And she held on to the financial stability he gave her, but she lived in this constant grinding state of al-ghaib when it came to his fate.
And then the shock, the return. An old man just walks into what used to be his home.
And the son, who's now a capable young adult, he just sees a stranger infringing on his mother's sanctuary. And he doesn't hesitate.
No?
It's an immediate confrontation. The son rises up, mistaking his own father for a trespasser, an enemy, and he calls him out. The argument gets so heated it spills out into the street.
And it's only resolved when the great scholar, Imam Malik, actually intervenes.
Right. He tries to mediate this chaotic scene. He advises the old man, Farrukh, to just move on. He says, there are many homes. Why are you fighting over this one?
And it's Sua, his wife, who finally solves it.
It's her immediate recognition. She says, that is my husband, and that is your son. And that's it. The dilemma is solved. The family's reunited.
It's this powerful, tearful reunion. But then what's so jarring is that Farrukh's first conscious thought goes right back to the money. He asks Sua, the 30,000 dinars, what happened? How did you spend them?
What do we own now?
Exactly. What does that tell us about his mindset? He was looking for tangible proof of her stewardship.
It tells us that even a dedicated soldier, someone detached from the dunya, still relies on tangible metrics. He was expecting a balance sheet, a portfolio, more gold maybe.
But Sua's answer is the real twist here.
It is. She directs him not to a bank vault, but to the masjid, to the mosque. She just tells him, go look for your son.
And what he finds there, it utterly eclipses the value of any amount of gold.
When Farrukh gets there, he sees his son wrapped in a turban, and he's not just praying or studying. He is seated, he's surrounded by this eager circle of students, and he is teaching.
Wow.
He's clarifying complex matters of the religion. The investment Su'a made in his education, his upbringing, his spiritual growth, it had paid off in this extraordinary way. This young man was a master scholar, renowned, a teacher to the giants of jurisprudence.
Including Imam Malik himself?
And Imam Abu Hanifa, the founders of major legal schools. I mean, we're talking about raising a child who becomes a foundational jurist for an entire legal system. That's the caliber of fame and respect here.
That's profound. The spiritual investment, backed by her incredible, 27 years of patience, it yielded a reward that just dwarfed the 30,000 dinars.
That is the core takeaway. Farr's original investment of his life, plus Sua's patience and wise allocation of those resources, it yielded this unending spiritual reward through the son's scholarship. It's a perfect illustration of being surprised by Allah's divine planning.
The reward was delayed.
Delayed, disguised, and infinitely greater than his original monetary calculation.
That story of radical transformation, it really makes you realize how ill-equipped we are for the sudden shocks of the world, even today.
Oh, yeah.
We hear these modern parallels all the time. People released from unjust confinement after 40 years, or reconnecting with a loved one who wakes up from a 10-year coma.
How do you even begin to explain the invention of the smartphone to someone whose last memory is a decade old? The world moves on, and they're just left trying to catch up to this unrecognizable reality.
And while those are extreme examples, we all encounter many versions of this. A job loss, a sudden diagnosis, a career path that just vanishes overnight.
And that brings us right to the theological wall, to the hard limits that are placed on human knowledge, which our sources laid out so meticulously.
It seems to be driven by this one account of a Bedouin who approached the Prophet Muhammad. He was coming from a society that, relied on soothsayers, on horoscopes.
Exactly. They expected a prophet to be the ultimate fortune teller. And so the Bedouin, he wasn't asking abstract questions. He wanted transactional, practical knowledge.
Things for survival.
For survival, for immediate results. He asked 5 specific questions. First, when is the hour? The day of judgment.
Okay, the big one.
The big one. Second, when will the rain fall? Our land is barren. We need to plan the harvest. Third, he basically asked for a birthday in advance. When will my pregnant wife give birth?
Fourth, where will I die? And fifth, what exactly will I earn tomorrow?
These questions are so human, aren't they? They represent the biggest uncertainties in our lives. The ultimate unknown, the survival unknown, the biological, the locational, and the economic unknown.
So what was the divine response? It wasn't a forecast.
No, it was a clear, definitive theological boundary. It was drawn by reciting a verse from Surah Luqman. And the response named these exact 5 things, and it concludes with this powerful affirmation.
Indeed, Allah alone has knowledge of the hour, and he sends down the rain, and he knows what is inside of the wombs, and no soul knows what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul knows in which land it will die.
And that's it. These become known as the 5 keys of the unseen.
The 5 keys. And no created being, not an angel, not a scholar, knows these 5 things.
That's the critical reinforcement. The sources really emphasize that even those granted profound insight, prophets who could perform miracles, they were still not granted access to these 5 keys. They couldn't see the future schedule.
I wonder how challenging that was, given the cultural expectation that a prophet would know what was coming.
It was crucial to maintain that boundary. There's an incident in the sources that just demonstrates the strictness of this. The prophet was at a wedding, and a poet, full of praise and enthusiasm, starts singing, "We have amongst us a prophet who knows what will happen tomorrow."
And the prophet just cuts him off.
Immediately, he corrects him and says, "Don't say that. No one knows what is coming tomorrow except for Allah." And that action, it wasn't just, a theological correction. It was establishing the ultimate boundary between the creator and the created.
You can plan, but you cannot predict.
That's it.
So, if we realize we can't reliably predict the weather or the economy or even where we'll die, what does this understanding of al-Ghaib mean for how we try to find stability in our lives today?
It really impacts us on 2 levels, the communal or the ummah, and then the intensely personal.
Okay.
From a collective perspective, we learn 2 vital lessons about global stability. First, don't be overly hopeful or, complacent in what seems stable right now. The most prosperous land, the most secure political system, it can all be overturned in an instant.
Stability can flip into insecurity just like that.
Just like that. It's the sunnah the way, or the pattern of Allah in dealing with nations.
So the reverse has to be true, too. We're commanded not to despair in what seems impossible or strategically bleak.
Exactly. I mean, look at any news cycle. You see how quickly fortunes can change. Political landscapes shift overnight. Strategies that look absolutely dominant one week are obsolete the next.
And we live in the digital age, which I think just compounds the psychological issue. We attach ourselves to these public anchors, politicians, celebrities, and then their sudden downfall shows just how brittle those anchors really are.
That's a great point. We try to find stability in the observable world, but the observable world is, by its very nature, conditional.
And on a personal level, that instability is so deeply jarring. We are completely at the mercy of circumstances we can't control.
Think about the emotional planning that goes into your life. Family plans, interrupted by a sudden disease. Career aspirations completely derailed by political instability that erupts overnight in your country.
Or that shocking moment of waking up in a hospital bed after a car accident, your last few hours just wiped from memory.
And realizing the sudden, permanent loss of mobility, or a limb. You woke up that morning planning your usual day, and now you have to calculate a completely different life. That is the shock of the unseen.
And we forget that these massive, unpredictable shifts are central to the prophetic narratives, too.
The ultimate historical reminder. Think of the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. He goes from being the beloved hero, trusted, praised, relied upon, to being run out of his own city 10 years later.
And he was shocked when he was told that would happen. My people will run me out.
Genuinely shocked. And then the later surprise. It wasn't the powerful tribes who welcomed him in Medina. It was 6 unassuming young men from the Ansar who completely changed the trajectory of global history just by inviting him. Fortunes flip in an instant.
So if we accept that we cannot truly determine the next 5 or 10 years, what is the action plan? We can't just stop planning, but we have to fundamentally change the axis of our planning. We have to embrace the uncertainty of the future with absolute, unshakable certainty in the one who controls all of it.
And that certainty pushes us to focus intensely on the present moment. It's a key distinguishing factor. The sources define a trait of the hypocrite as someone always living in the wrong moment.
Tying themselves to the past, wishing to be sent back.
Or tying themselves to a mythical future where a better version of me will show up tomorrow. They fail to act right now.
Whereas the believer's calculation, their state of reliance tawakkul, it forces them into immediate action.
Precisely. The core teaching on this mindset is that when you wake up, you calculate that you might not live to see the evening. And when you go to sleep, you calculate you might not live to see the morning.
That calculation is vital. It manages that immediate, uncertain tomorrow, the tomorrow of the weather, or the next headline. It compels quality action today.
And if we look beyond that immediate, uncertain tomorrow, there's also a certain tomorrow.
The hour, the day of judgment.
Yes. We are commanded to look to what we have prepared for this ultimate reality. The certainty of the hour is so absolute that Allah calls it tomorrow in the verse. O you who believe, fear Allah, and look to what you have prepared for tomorrow.
That shifts our entire mental energy, away from worrying about the unpredictable earnings of the next 24 hours.
And it refocuses us entirely on preparing for that certain ultimate reality. We have to maintain a good assumption, husna zan of Allah. We should expect to be surprised by his timing and his decree, but we trust that he will give us the best circumstances to be the best we can be.
And that's the foundation of peace. So to quickly recap the core insights from this deep dive, the story of Farrukh shows us that spiritual focus and patience yield a return that is just infinitely greater than monetary certainty.
The 5 keys define that immovable, non-negotiable boundary of human prediction. We just fundamentally do not know what tomorrow brings.
And finally, the communal and personal stability we rely on, it's always conditional. It's always subject to instant, unpredictable reversal by divine decree.
The crucial thought to remember as you move forward is that core premise. Allah will not let the good deeds that you have planted go to waste. Regardless of how unpredictable the journey is, or how contrary the immediate outcome seems to your plans.
Focus on the effort.
Focus on the planting and trust the controller, not the circumstance.
So given that you cannot predict what your life will be like in 5 years, where you'll be, what resources you'll have, how does shifting your entire focus purely to the quality of your actions today fundamentally change your sense of peace and preparedness? Think about that as you go forward. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening till the end. If you are a non-Muslim and willing to revert to Islam, it is easy. You just need to say the Shahada, the creed, with your heart and mind. You don't need anyone's help. It is simple. First, The meaning of Shahada. The Shahada is the Islamic declaration of faith and is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It consists of 2 main parts. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Wa ashhadu anna Mohammadar Rasulullah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Congratulations! Reciting the Shahada with sincerity is the first step in converting to Islam. It emphasizes the belief in the oneness of God Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Shahada is central to a Muslim's faith and identity. Please join our WhatsApp group to let us know. The link is in the video description. Ask me any question that you may have.